Abraham Lincoln once said, "Don't believe everything you read on the internet." In the age of misinformation and fake news, there's a lot of things that make us question a lot of different things. Uh, and this time, a lot of people get confused. They read things on the internet and they end up believing things that aren't true, or they end up not believing things that are true. Given all this confusion during this time, sometimes these things can affect our faith as well, because maybe we can also see things that make us question things about our faith, about God's word, and about who God is in general. And so during this time of all this misinformation, we need to figure out where our source is for our information from God. And we need to go back to the original source for that information. And so John talks about this in 1 John chapter 4, verses 1 through 3, whenever he says, "Dear friends, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirit to see if they are from God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. This is how you will know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus has come in the flesh is from God, but every spirit that does not confess Jesus is not from God. This is the spirit of the Antichrist, which you have heard is coming. Even now, it is already in the world."
In John's day, there were many false teachers that were sharing all kinds of ideas about who Jesus was, maybe that he wasn't an actual man and that he was just some kind of spirit. And they had all kind of false ideas. And so John is trying to get them to see the importance of God's word and the importance of who Jesus is. We must confess that Jesus is the Christ, that he has come in the flesh, and that he is from God. And this is part of how we become a Christian. And so when we think about matters of faith, as John said, we shouldn't believe every spirit, but we should go back to God's word and test whatever we're hearing through the filter of God's word. And we're making sure that it's true. And oftentimes it's even better to go back to Jesus's words specifically and his attitude specifically. And so I would encourage you to do that, to look into God's word and to test everything that you see through the filter of God's word. We thank you for joining us today. Have a blessed day in the Lord.